Fresh mystery erupts over the US-Iran ceasefire as both sides send mixed signals and the basic terms of the truce remain in dispute. An Iranian official posted details about the next round of talks in Islamabad, only to hurriedly retract the claim once it hit headlines. Trump and Vice President Vance lashed out at media reports adding to the chaos instead of clarifying what was actually agreed. Iran again tightened its grip on the Strait of Hormuz as Israel continued to batter Lebanon. Is this fragile ceasefire already starting to come apart on multiple fronts? Iran's ambassador to Pakistan initially announced that an Iranian delegation would arrive in Islamabad on April 9 for serious talks based on Iran's 10-point proposal. The ambassador later deleted his social media post about the delegation's arrival, even though the same message was already reported by multiple news agencies. The now-deleted post said, quote, "Despite skepticism of Iranian public opinion due to repeated ceasefire violations by Israeli regime, Iranian delegation arrives tonight in Islamabad for serious talks based on 10 points proposed by Iran." Unquote. This comes as confusion persists over the exact terms and scope of the US-Iran ceasefire, including how Iran's 10-point plan and issues like Lebanon and the Strait of Hormuz are interpreted by each side. On April 8, Israel launched nearly 100 airstrikes on targets in Lebanon in just 10 minutes, prompting Iran to call it a violation. The US and Israel maintained that Lebanon was not part of the truce, but Iran insisted it was and simultaneously blocked the Strait of Hormuz. Reopening the strategic oil shipping route through the Strait of Hormuz had been a key condition set by Trump for halting hostilities. Earlier, reports highlighted confusion over the nuclear enrichment clause in the 10-point framework intended for US-Iran talks. While the English version of Iran's document omitted references to nuclear enrichment, the original Farsi version reportedly included it. CNN rejected the allegations made by President Trump, insisting that it had received its information from verified sources. The network said, "We received the statement from official Iranian spokespeople who are known to us," defending its reporting. Trump, however, insisted that Tehran's only official response was a brief English statement issued by Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi. The president's comments came after US Vice President J.D. Vance revealed that he had seen 3 different versions of the 10-point deal. Vance explained that the differing proposals had fueled confusion over the terms of negotiations and the scope of the ceasefire. He added that the first proposal, allegedly shared with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, had been immediately rejected. US Vice President J.D. Vance said, and I quote, "The first 10-point proposal was something that was submitted, and we think, frankly, was probably written by ChatGPT to Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, and it immediately went in the garbage and was rejected. A second 10-point proposal that was much more reasonable and that was based on some back and forth between us, the Pakistanis, and the Iranians," unquote. Vance's comments on confusion over the ceasefire raised questions about the role of the mediator. His claims sparked speculation that Pakistan may have shared differing proposals with both sides, fueling the dispute.
I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't. We never made that promise. We never indicated that was going to be the case. What we said is that the ceasefire would be focused on Iran, and the ceasefire would be focused on America's allies, both Israel and the Gulf Arab states. Now, that said, the Israelis, as I understand it, again, I'm supposed to get a fuller report when I get on the plane, have actually offered to be, frankly, to check themselves a little bit in Lebanon because they want to make sure that our negotiation is successful. That's not because that is American people, but fundamentally, the Iranians have got to take the next step, or the president has a lot of options to go back to the war. The more that they're willing to give us, I think the more they're going to get things out of this negotiation. The president's talked about the deal that's good for the American people. I encourage the Iranians to come to the table seriously. We've seen some signs that they're going to do that. We've seen some signs of bravado. Fundamentally, we're in a good spot. They're reopening the straits. We have a ceasefire. And frankly, if they break their end of the bargain, then they're going to see some serious consequences.
Less than 24 hours after the US announced a ceasefire with Iran, Iranian state media reported that the Strait of Hormuz had been shut down again, reversing a key condition of the truce. The complete and safe reopening of the strait was President Trump's stated condition for the 2-week ceasefire, tying the pause in US strikes directly to the free passage of oil shipments. The stunning move came less than 24 hours after the US and Israel publicly backed the truce talks with Iran on March 7th to 8th, raising immediate questions about the deal's stability. The closure happened despite earlier indications that Iran would reopen the vital shipping route as part of the broader agreement, at least for the duration of the 2-week pause. On the night of March 8th to 9th, Iran's press TV reported that an oil tanker was turned away near the strait, underscoring the tightening of maritime controls in the region. The tanker, named Aurora, made an abrupt 180-degree turn at sea and instead returned toward the Persian Gulf rather than continuing through the strait. The US government has stated that the Aurora is a sanctioned vessel, alleging it is used to transport Iranian oil outside the usual commercial channels. According to reports citing the semi-official Fars news agency, Iran's decision to close the strait was framed as a response to Israeli military operations in Lebanon, not solely to the ceasefire terms. Israel has intensified its strikes on Lebanon in recent days, saying it is targeting Hezbollah positions and infrastructure linked to Iranian support. Reports indicate that Israel launched around 100 suspected strikes on Lebanese territory within a 10-minute window on April 8, suggesting a concentrated, high-intensity campaign. These strikes in Lebanon have reportedly killed over 110 civilians and wounded more than 800 others, drawing sharp condemnation from humanitarian groups. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and US Vice President Vance have both stated that the America-Iran truce does not apply to Lebanon. The situation has highlighted growing disparities between the sides over whether the ceasefire includes the Lebanon front or only applies to Iran directly. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and US Vice President Vance have both stated that the America-Iran truce does not apply to Lebanon, treating Hezbollah as a separate conflict. In his public remarks, Netanyahu also warned that Israel could resume full-scale war with Iran at any moment in order to complete the original war goals.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.